This is Stacey, aka Java and Pi 101. She is currently a student at Brock University. One day, when she was enjoying some Java and Pi, i.e. struggling to code a confusing, greedy algorithm while working on a multivariate calculus assignment at the same time, she noticed someone had left their phone behind at a nearby table. But when she got closer to the device, she could see it wasn't a phone at all. She wasn't sure exactly what it was, other than that it was called the COMM 2F100. When she turned it on, she was presented with the map of an area she'd never visited before. So she grabbed her WordPress notebook to keep track of everything she learned on her adventure and headed on her way. This was the start of Java and Pi 101's journey through new media. First stop on the map, Twitteropolis. She'd been to this place before a few times, but had always just driven through it, never stopping to take a real good look at it. And what she found was a little odd, to say the least. All of the citizens never spoke more than one sentence, and announced everything to everyone else on the streets, even when it was a regular conversation with just one person. She found it fun and intriguing at first, and there were so many interesting things being said amongst the unnecessary daily activity tweets. It was an easy way to get the latest news and updates on current events, but in the end she decided to move on after getting a headache from the constant stream of information she was trying to listen to all at once. From there, she ventured into completely unknown territory, the next stop being Pinterestville. When she first arrived, she wasn't really sure what she was looking at. It seemed almost like a library of media, pictures, and articles, with infinite copies of each, where citizens could search and complete their collections, and get ideas from others. Many images were inspiring and creative, and she could easily feel the strong emphasis on visual culture throughout. Overall, though, it was almost overwhelming if one were to try to keep up. There was no way to keep track of everything being added or circulated, and it left her feeling sad that she couldn't really have any of the things that she was seeing. She knew she could have spent hours roaming the streets, looking through all the eye-catching images, and that's when she knew she had to move on. Before continuing the path on the map, she decided to take a moment to reflect on what she had learned about new media so far. Based on these first two experiences, she was able to conclude that new media can be an extremely overwhelming experience in terms of information and access, without the proper literacies to sort through it all. Skills such as judgment, to identify false information, navigation, to follow data flows across platforms, and collaboration, to work with others to enhance content and participation. These are all essential for successfully navigating the new media landscape in order to get the most out of your experience. Otherwise, it may be difficult to process the information overload. She wrote her findings down in her WordPress and continued on to the town of TV Tag, recently changed from the name Town of Get Glue. To her amazement, she'd stumbled into a world where everything was made of screens, displaying every type of TV show, movie, and sporting game available. Citizens of the community checked in to watch their favorite shows and movies together, discussing plot twists and epic scenes, speculating possible outcomes of upcoming episodes, and reminiscing about old favorite moments. Stickers are also collected as souvenirs of big TV moments in the town, given to everyone who attend the event. She was amazed at how tight-knit the community was, as well as how open and inviting they were for her to join their world, more so than anywhere she'd been so far. Everyone was connected naturally by common interests. A major problem she found with the setup was that spoilers were almost inevitable. Unless you watched everything live, you were almost guaranteed to hear about something before or while watching it. She also noticed quite a bit of unrest amongst the citizens of TV Tag against the town council, who had taken away their ability to order the stickers they'd earned and had changed the name and layout of the town without their approval. While she could have spent a lot longer in TV Tag and been very happy, she decided to move on to Groove Shark City. From outside the city lines, she could already hear a collection of all kinds of music pouring out of the city. As she got closer, she could see that everyone had their own personal radio stations that they could control, creating playlists from a virtual library of every kind of music imaginable. All of your favorite songs are at your fingertips to listen to again and again without having to download each one. As a music lover, she absolutely adored this place. She didn't even have to be a citizen to make her own playlist. She never came across a song that wasn't available, and she was in control of her own experience. However, everywhere you went in the city there were talks of war and rumors of attacks on similar nearby cities, all led by a powerful opposition group known as the music industry. The threat of attack is real, and citizens live every day in fear that their perfect setup will be taken from them. Before moving on, she stopped to think about what these last two places had taught her. In general, every form of new media has its strengths and weaknesses. No new media tool is completely perfect and universal. Just like there is not one big city that is the absolute best place to live that holds the entire population. This is why many people belong to more than one online community, and it all comes down to finding the combined collection of online tools that work best for you. Based on the COMM 200 device, she was nearing the end of her journey. Next was Storify County, a place that was centered around the idea of everything being told as a story. She noticed that all the citizens there lived for telling stories, most of them in a journalistic manner, and they had access to every form of media available as a store of information to reinforce and enhance their stories. Everyone's stories were available to everyone else, and citizen journalism thrived. She realized that the success of this place relied on the idea that new media literacies were being used to avoid the spread of false information, which is easily done when pulling sources from other forms of media, especially social media. She wasn't actually a huge fan of this place, maybe because she'd never particularly liked journalism or news. She preferred her stories to be works of fiction, and decided to move on to the last location on her map, YouTube World. She'd been here before, many times, but hadn't even scratched the surface of everything there is to do and see. The creativity and diversity was far greater than anything she had seen up to this point, in both products and people. Some people spent their time remixing other media, others filmed original raw footage, and some created a combination of the two. The result was a truly complex world where productive users live and thrive. As she had reached the end of the COMM 200 map, she took a moment to think again. These last two places had taught her that new media is able to give anyone and everyone a voice. An audience is not guaranteed, but everyone now has the opportunity to be heard and to make a difference. An environment like this will naturally lead to citizen journalism, but also to new forms of expression, new wrongs to be righted, and new voices to be heard. When she thought about it, she didn't know if she'd ever go back to visit any of the places she'd been, other than YouTube World. The map on the COMM 200 had ended, but this is not necessarily where the story ends. The device had led her right to a crossroads, with many options ahead to explore until she could find a place and a community to call home.